Dear friends and faithful believers, with hearts brimming with hope, gratitude, and an unwavering faith, we warmly welcome each of you gathered here today on this blessed channel. It is our prayer that the peace and grace of our Lord Jesus Christ will fill your hearts, guide your paths, and remain with you always. Together, we unite in spirit, seeking understanding, strength, and solidarity as we explore the profound and often humbling experiences that shape our lives. Holy, join me on this journey as we try to comprehend what it truly means to live through a catastrophic event like the recent massive earthquake that rocked China. This powerful earthquake, with its staggering magnitude of 7.9, sent shockwaves of fear and uncertainty rippling throughout the region, leaving entire communities on edge. The sheer force of this disaster is a sobering reminder of the fragility of human existence and the unimaginable impact that nature's fury can have on our world. In the aftermath, rescue teams were quickly dispatched to the affected areas, but their valiant efforts were met with overwhelming obstacles. The destruction of vital infrastructure, including storm-ravaged roads, collapsed bridges, and downed power lines, created a logistical nightmare for emergency responders. Every passing moment was fraught with urgency, as the looming threat of aftershocks hung over the region, threatening to further destabilize an already fragile situation. Amidst these overwhelming challenges, the treacherous and often impassable terrain added yet another layer of difficulty, making it nearly impossible for rescue teams to reach some of the most isolated and devastated areas. As we reflect on these events, we are reminded not only of the physical destruction, but also of the emotional and spiritual toll that disasters of this magnitude leave behind. We stand in solidarity with those affected, offering our prayers and support, knowing that even in the darkest of times, the resilience of the human spirit and the grace of God can guide us through. Together, let us continue to lift up our voices in prayer for the victims, the rescue workers, and all those whose lives have been forever changed by this tragedy. As search and rescue operations continued, the full magnitude of the disaster began to surface, unveiling a trail of devastation that would likely take not just weeks, but many months if not years to fully recover from. The earthquake struck with unrelenting force, its epicenter located in a densely populated area, causing widespread destruction and sending shockwaves through towns and villages far beyond. The earthquake's terrifying power was unleashed on unsuspecting communities, many of which were completely unprepared for such a catastrophe. Eyewitnesses described scenes of chaos, with buildings collapsing as if they were made of sand, screams echoing in the streets, and desperate cries for help piercing the air as families scrambled for safety. Footage captured the raw terror of the event: homes reduced to rubble, cars flipped over, and debris scattered throughout the streets, offering a haunting glimpse into the unimaginable ordeal faced by those living through this nightmare. The rural areas, which were hit hardest, suffered even more acutely due to their isolation and lack of immediate access to resources. With emergency services stretched thin, the situation became more perilous by the hour. The remoteness of these areas exacerbated the rescue challenges as damaged infrastructure, impassable roads, and a shortage of supplies further hampered efforts. Despite this, the bravery of first responders shone as a beacon of hope amid the despair. These heroic individuals, undeterred by the ever-present threat of aftershocks and treacherous conditions, worked tirelessly to pull survivors from the wreckage. Their commitment to saving lives, even at great personal risk, was a testament to the indomitable strength of the human spirit. Equally inspiring was the response from local communities. Strangers became allies as neighbors banded together to provide shelter, food, and emotional support for those who had lost everything. Despite the overwhelming devastation, there were countless acts of kindness and selflessness. These moments of solidarity fueled a deep well of resilience, proving that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, the human capacity for compassion and unity remains unshakable. As first responders toiled around the clock, their mission was clear: to rescue, to comfort, and to restore a semblance of order amidst the chaos. Every effort was made to evacuate victims, administer medical aid to the injured, and provide shelter for those displaced. The scale of the damage became increasingly apparent with each passing day. This was not a disaster that would be easily overcome. Entire neighborhoods were wiped out, and critical infrastructure was left in ruins. Communication networks were severed, making coordination among rescue teams difficult. Power outages were widespread, and clean water and food supplies quickly became scarce, adding another layer of urgency to the situation. The Chinese government responded by deploying troops and resources, but the enormity of the disaster was clear. This earthquake, with its destructive force and far-reaching impact, had left a scar on the region that would take years to heal. Cities and towns across the area bore witness to nature's wrath, as buildings lay in ruins and streets were rendered impassable. The road to recovery would be long and grueling, requiring a massive and sustained effort from local authorities, international aid, and the communities themselves. Meanwhile, geological experts were quick to point out the complexity of the seismic activity in the region. The area lies on the boundary between the Eurasian and North American tectonic plates, a hotspot for earthquakes. The shifting of these plates had culminated in the violent tremor, causing widespread destruction in its wake. This disaster served as a grim reminder of the volatile nature of the earth beneath us and the sobering reality of living in seismically active regions. Amid the tragedy, however, stories of hope emerged, offering a glimmer of light in the darkness. In one particularly heart-wrenching rescue, a young girl was pulled from the rubble of her family's home after hours of relentless effort by rescuers. This miraculous survival was a poignant reminder of the human cost of the disaster. While buildings and roads can be rebuilt, the lives lost and the pain felt by survivors will leave a lasting emotional impact. Families were torn apart, homes were destroyed, and entire communities were left to sift through the wreckage of their former lives. Yet, even in the midst of such heartache, moments of courage and heroism continued to surface, reminding us all of the resilience of the human soul. In the immediate aftermath, confusion and chaos reigned as emergency services were overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the disaster. Rescue teams battled against time, working tirelessly to free those trapped beneath the rubble, while medical personnel did everything in their power to stabilize the injured. The challenge was immense, but so too was the determination of those involved. The Chinese government has pledged its full support for the relief effort, promising to provide the necessary resources and aid to help rebuild shattered lives and communities. As the days turn into weeks, the full extent of the damage caused by this devastating earthquake becomes more apparent. The road to recovery will be long and arduous, but through perseverance, global support, and, most importantly, faith in our Lord Jesus Christ, the affected areas will find healing and restoration. Jesus teaches us to bear one another's burdens, and in times of disaster, His love calls us to stand together as a community. While the physical rebuilding is vital, we must not overlook the emotional and spiritual wounds left behind. This disaster reminds us of the fragility of life, but it also points to the strength we can draw from Christ, who walks with us through every storm. As we reflect on the tragedy, let us remember that through Jesus, there is always hope. His light shines even in the darkest moments, offering comfort to those who suffer. The power of prayer and the unity of believers can bring healing to hearts shattered by loss, and together we can rebuild not just homes, but the spirit of those affected. Share your thoughts on this catastrophic event in the comments below, and if you want to understand more about the impact of such natural disasters and how we can respond with both faith and action, be sure to explore my other videos. Let us unite in prayer, lifting up those in need, trusting in God's plan, and offering whatever aid we can to help them rebuild their lives under the grace of our Savior.